Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Critical Reactions with your host, Bryan. Today we're going to round out the end of the Arc week with, lots of people have guessed it, Archspire. There were a couple of recommendations, but Involuntary Doppelgänger is by and far the most popular. We're going to go through with that one. And yeah, we've had a lot of short songs this week. I'm not really sure what's up with that. Usually we have, 6, 7, 10, 15-minute songs. And pretty much everything this week's been in the 4 to 6 minute range. So that's interesting. Especially since some of these bands are kind of popular requests. So we usually do a lot of proggy stuff on this channel. Not intentionally. I mean, that's just what gets recommended, but yeah, I'm kind of digging some of these shorter things, kind of seeing the other side of metal. Yeah, let's get into this. This is Archspire, Involuntary Doppelgänger. I'm awake. Alright, we've had a bit of a tempo shift right here. Just no transition at all. Just this section, then this section. I mean, the instrumental work is just insane all over the place. But it is wall of sounds. It's all very clean though. The engineering is top notch and I think it's necessary. Interesting keys that they're using here. Insane blast beats, these crazy sweeps going on in the guitars, really interesting rhythmic patterns. Alright. I was kind of hoping for that to kind of evolve a little bit. Really nice counterpoint going on there between the guitarist and the bassist. That was uh that was something, and I'm sure that's that's kind of the point of the recommendation. Is kind of that shock factor, but it would have been real nice to have had a little bit of prep going into that. Uh, Jeez. Okay, so there's. I didn't really talk much during the song. There's a lot to take in. There's a lot going on, but there's a lot I also want to talk about. So we're gonna get to it. First of all, I want to talk about the instruments and the instrumentalists, the musicians. I don't know why that word escaped me. Um, this song, at least this track itself, it is the pinnacle of production. And I don't just mean that on the engineering side, which I'm going to get into in a second, but it is a very complex song with a lot of quick staccato notes, a lot of tremolo picking, there's a lot of speed going on in all the instruments. And they're all pretty much in time playing this very similar rhythms, which means that the space between notes is shared between multiple instruments and it's not a very large gap of silence. So, I've said this about a couple other bands, but when you play that kind of speed um, with multiple other people, it has a real high chance of becoming muddied because not everybody's going to start and stop at the exact same point. And to be able to play it like that with that kind of precision throughout your band and just having that kind of synergy with your bandmates is ridiculous musicianship. It's just crazy on all aspects, whether you're playing a guitar or the bass or you're the drummer or not necessarily in this band, but there are some bands that have other instruments that play like that as well. You got violins and keyboards and stuff like that. The more people you add to it, the more difficult it gets. Um, so yeah, just on that note alone, the song was fascinating to listen to. But then the engineer created a very clean mix of this track. I don't know if this song could have been mixed any better. Every instrument was perfectly audible. I could point out the bass, the guitar, the drums, even though they were all playing the same rhythms. They were all, I mean, the guitars were in the higher register, but, uh, and, they have their own timbre as well, but this could have easily been mixed poorly where it all sounded very muddied and congealed into a single sound. And every instrument had its own identity in this track, in the sound of the track, which is, like I said, this is just an impressive production. Every part of there's so many aspects of the sound, just not even the performance of it, the sound itself that could have made the track difficult to listen to. And none of that happened. It was played masterfully. It was mixed perfectly. I that right there is just that's all I have to know. These guys are sticklers for perfection. That's kind of what I get from this song. Um, Something I haven't mentioned yet, even though it kind of sit in the same area, is the vocalist. A lot of the vocal work actually reminds me a lot of rap, uh, where it's not so much about the notes being hit, but more about the rhythmic ideas, not so much the melodic ones. And staying true to the rap influence, the rhythmic ideas aren't just exactly having more of a focus, but it's also showing off how difficult the singer can sing in rhythmic patterns, the difficult rhythmic patterns he can sing in. There's a couple of times when there is 40 words on the screen and he said them in, a couple of bars. And he's just rattling them off rapid fire. Um, almost as impressive as some of your best rappers. Just the ability to put so many words into a small time frame and have it sound musically interesting. It doesn't get muddied. It doesn't get, it's not difficult to listen to. The phrasing is well done. It doesn't sound uh what is it? The meter? Yeah, the meter of the prose is well done. It's well composed. And that's difficult to do. I don't think that's something a lot of people talk about, especially when we get into metal music where a lot of the harsher vocals are kind of staying in a single sound or a single note, and it's kind of relying more on rhythmic personality rather than harmonic personality, melodic personality. I don't think people really talk about meter and prose and just kind of the bounce and flow of what's being spoken or growled or screamed or whatever. But yeah, I mean, nothing really felt out of place. It didn't feel unusual or unhuman to kind of say the words he said in the way that he said them. Everything had a nice bounce and rhythm to it. It's very, again, masterful. It's perfect. Um, and I did notice that in this track, the vocals were mixed down into the instruments, just like in a few of the other heavy metal tracks we've listened to. And again, I'm getting used to that. Without the lyric video, I would have had no idea what he was saying. And to be honest, I didn't look at the lyric video the whole time. Um, Having the lyrics there were kind of distracting me from listening to the music. So, words are things that I can see and my brain can immediately interpret into ideas. And that's what my brain was kind of latching onto for the first 30% or so. So I started to look away from it so I can dive into the music. So I'm not even really sure what it was about. There's a lot of some grotesque imagery in there. I'm not sure how much of a point it was to prove or if it was just kind of shock value kind of stuff, but it's definitely a very visual poem, lyrics to the song, whatever you want to call it. Uh, yeah, but just top to bottom, every part of the performance of this track is just perfection. The way it's composed, the way it was played, the way it was engineered, everything was just done to the best that they could do. And I gotta give them props for that. The song itself, though, I don't know. I'm kind of torn because I do really appreciate the musicianship of it, and there was a very strong melodic identity to it, despite all the shred going on. There was still a lot of melodic ideas going on in the guitar work that kind of carried the song through with not necessarily a hook or a strong melody line, but just kind of something to push the song forward while a lot of the other instruments were playing the same kind of just rapid speed, loud stuff. It was something that kind of had a musical phrasing to it to kind of give sentence structure to the story. If I were to use a metaphor of writing a book or something. Um, but there's a lot of ideas that I just did not agree with. There was a couple of transitions that, for lack of better words, were not transitions. They were this part and then this part, and they just smushed them together, and it was such a jarring movement between the two ideas. Um, it works sometimes. It did not work for me this time. Just everything. It was like being swept off my feet or punched in the mouth without even know there was a fist in front of me. Like it just comes out of nowhere. Um, I'm sure that's part of the brutalness of the metal or whatever. It's I need something less brutal, I guess. I was taken aback a bit by the soft part. If I remember right, it was a piano, but it might have been a clean guitar. I don't. really remember the exact about it, not as much as I remember the emotion and kind of feeling of the section, but it was a fleeting moment. As soon as I was kind of getting into it and wondering where they were going, it was back into the in your face, brutal wall of sounds. And again, no transition. It was just, we were doing this, now we're doing this. Get with it, buckle in, and enjoy the ride because you can't change what we're doing. So, uh, I don't know. I might warm up to Archspire, assuming that this is pretty indicative of their typical music, but on a first time listen, it's a bit rough for me, just in the overall composition, the way that they've moved from space to space, and the musical ideas that were used in each area. But I definitely understand why people enjoy it. I understand why it was requested so heavily, and I really, really appreciate their attention to detail. They just this song was clean from top to bottom, even if I'm not a big fan of the compositional techniques. The musicianship and the performance and the engineering were just top notch. It's just dang. So yes, that is Archspire, Involuntary Doppelgänger. What do you guys think about this? For the many of you that requested this, is this what they normally do? If I listen to another song, will it be a different experience, or will I pretty much be repeating what I've said? If you haven't listened to Archspire before, what do you think of this? Is it right up your alley and you got to go get all their albums now? Or, like me, was it too much of a punch to the face that you didn't even know was coming and, it's just not your cup of tea? Let me know down in the comments. While you're down there, make sure you like, subscribe, and ring the bell. If you're interested in shaping the future of the channel, Sunday we'll start new polls for Patreons. It's only $1. If you want to take part of the polls, $1 per month. If you want to take part of the polls, they're open from Sunday to Saturday, and we'll be choosing the songs that we react to, as well as the themes that the songs will be picked from. So, like I said, this was Arc and Arch week. Next week is looking to be pretty interesting. We have uh, couple of good songs that I think we're going to get picked up, and the week after, we got a couple of themes that are definitely winning in the polls, and I'm looking forward to both of them. So we got some really good stuff coming up in the next couple of weeks. Hope you all are excited for that. And I'm gonna try to get a revisited band out tomorrow. My schedule's been kind of wonky lately, and it's kind of difficult for me to get this out. I mean, this video is coming out a few hours later than I wanted to, but I'm still gonna try to get something out tomorrow. If not, I'll be back Monday as usual. Y'all have a fantastic day or week or weekend or however long it is between you watching these videos, and stay safe out there.